On this Wednesday night, vigils for a young girl and a young woman, victims of the Toronto shooting. Juliana Kozis and Reese Fallon remembered by their still grieving communities as police reveal the cause of death of the man who killed them. And the question persists, why did he do this?
Also tonight, how Donald Trump might play a role in Ottawa's multi-billion-dollar purchase of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. CBC News has seen the contract, and the final say could land on the president's desk. Can anyone say bargaining chip? This is The National.
Just a few nights ago, Toronto's Danforth neighborhood reverberated with gunshots, sirens, and screams. But tonight, a spirit of compassion, defiance, and love, even before the sun went down. Torontonians joined together to mourn the 2 people killed and to support the 13 injured in Sunday's shooting. They walked along Danforth Avenue before attending tonight's vigil. And earlier today, people gathered in Markham, north of Toronto, the hometown of 10-year-old Juliana Kozis, who died in hospital. They signed a book of condolence for the family of the popular youngster, a competitive synchronized swimmer who also loved gymnastics. Kozis was the younger of the 2 killed. 18-year-old Reese Fallon is remembered as a role model who was always smiling. 6 of the 13 people who were injured were still being treated today in hospital. 2 of them are in critical condition. As for the gunman, CBC News has learned that Faisal Hussein shot and killed himself. And as Ron Charles tells us, we also know how he obtained the weapon.
Investigators haven't revealed precisely how Faisal Hussein died after fleeing a shootout with 2 police officers trying to stop his rampage. Just that he was found several meters away with a fatal bullet wound. Now a police source tells CBC News Hussein shot himself in the head. The source also cleared up how Hussein, whom police had previously picked up twice under the Mental Health Act, obtained the gun. The source says the weapon belonged to his brother Fahad Hussein, who is known to police for having gang ties. Court records show Fahad faced several drug and weapons charges between 2014 and 2017, but they have all been withdrawn or stayed. Fahad has been in a hospital in a coma for over a year. The police source also said in Monday night's search of the Hussein family apartment, the forensics team seized another firearm as well as lots of ammunition, including a high-capacity magazine for an assault rifle. Last night, an online post appearing to be from ISIS claimed Faisal Hussein as one of the terrorist group's soldiers. But in a statement, Toronto's police chief said, "At this stage, we have no evidence to support these claims." Security experts suggest it is possible Hussein was inspired by ISIS.
What I would like to know from the Canadian police is what type of searches they have been able to do. Have they so far been able to find the shooter's phone? Have they unlocked it? Have they been able to look in his various chats?
The police chief's statement does say investigators are pursuing every avenue, including Hussein's acquaintances, his mental health issues, and his online activity. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
As Ron mentioned, Toronto's police chief wants people to know there is no evidence that ISIS was involved in this attack at all. And he's not the only one sounding that note of caution. For his part, Toronto Mayor John Tory backed his chief.
They're the people that are in possession of the information that would lead to any conclusions or not about anybody involved in this.
And that's pretty much the line from the federal government as well, as Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale indicated yesterday on Power and Politics.
There's no reason to believe that that national security was a part of this event or in any way threatened or at risk.
So if that's the word from Canadian authorities, why should anyone believe any claims from or about ISIS? We put that question to a leading Canadian expert on extremism today. Amarnath Amarasingam says ISIS has been so weakened, it's now just grasping at straws.
I think what started to change is you had a lot of these trusted individuals around the world get arrested. You had them lose capacity and ability to kind of maintain these networks in Syria and Iraq because coalition forces were taking back major cities. And a lot of this chain of transmission from attack to claim started to fall apart, and they started to get sloppy. They started to claim quite bizarre attacks that quite obviously were not terrorism related. One of the kind of obvious ones from recent memory is the Las Vegas attack, when Stephen Paddock shot all of those people. ISIS surprised a lot of people, I think, by claiming that one, and not only claiming it once, but claiming it 4 or 5 times, giving the attacker a jihadi nickname, and all of these things. And I think it was rightly, that claim, unlike other ones, was rightly met by a kind of collective eye roll. This is, I think, why for example, the Alex Manassian van attack in Toronto was not claimed, because the conversation immediately shifted to one of the incel rebellion and the manosphere and those kinds of things, and not to a kind of jihadist conversation. I mean, I think if there was an ISIS nexus to this, I think the RCMP would have taken over the investigation. The fact that the Toronto Police Service is still leading the investigation signals to me and others that I think this is still not really a terrorism investigation.
So as Amarnath said, ISIS has lost much of its caliphate. It's also been greatly reduced online. The group's once powerful recruitment network is in shambles after being blocked from most social media, largely reduced to using encrypted services like Telegram Messenger.
Here's what else we're working on tonight on The National. Why a record-smashing global heat wave may be the new normal.
Plus, the increasing trend of Canadian police withholding names of murder victims, and why advocates against domestic violence say that policy is dangerously misguided.
But first, the stunning new detail in the federal government's agreement to buy the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain Pipeline. CBC News has seen the contract, and it shows how a surprising figure could have a say in the purchase in the form of Donald Trump. Vashi Kapellos takes us through the fine print.
The art of the deal, the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion deal, might not be pretty. CBC News obtained a copy of the $4.5 billion agreement between Ottawa and Kinder Morgan, and it reveals Donald Trump, yes, Donald Trump, could play a key role in determining if the deal goes ahead. Under the agreement, the federal government is buying not just Trans Mountain, but the Puget Sound Pipeline, which ships crude from BC to Washington state. That part of the purchase is subject to a national security review by the U.S. Committee on Foreign Investment, known as CFIUS. The problem? Depending on what CFIUS concludes, their recommendation can be referred to the president, so Trump could have the final say. The entire Trans Mountain deal can't close without U.S. approval.
With all the other balls in the air that we have, NAFTA renegotiation, tariffs and retaliatory tariffs, why would we place in a contract for purchase of a pipeline that's as controversial as this one, yet another card for Trump to play?
According to the Council on Foreign Relations, since the committee was formed back in 1975, presidents have only blocked deals on 5 occasions, but Trump accounts for 2 of those. A government source, however, insists the Liberals aren't worried. They expect to get approval. A spokesperson for the Minister of Finance told CBC News CFIUS clearance is one of a number of regulatory and shareholder processes required prior to the completion of the purchase agreement. These processes are on track. This trade lawyer says it's not time to push the panic button yet.
This transaction strikes me as something that should be, for the most part, routine in the United States. Now, having said that, once you get into a tit-for-tat trade war and you're using very bellicose language, it does run the risk that the Americans could use this as a case to make an example of it.
One more hurdle for this controversial pipeline to cross before it gets built, if it ever does. Vashi Kapellos, CBC News, Ottawa.
But that is not the only possible Trump-connected transaction so many Americans are talking about today. Controversy is swirling after the U.S. president's former lawyer released tapes of their private conversations, where they appear to talk about women and money. Paul Hunter has the latest on that.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. It was one of those rare times Donald Trump took no questions, but it was asked anyway.
Did Michael Cohen betray you?
On Michael Cohen and those audio tapes. Thank you. Cohen, the one-time Trump lawyer, fixer, confidant, and, as it turns out, recorder of conversations.
It is a big night here.
Last night, handing a bombshell to the news outlet Trump hates the most.
Secret recording of President Trump back
on the tape made secretly just weeks before the 2016 election, Trump and Cohen himself under investigation for fraud and campaign finance violations are heard talking money.
When it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So no.
Interpreted as hush money to cover up a relationship Trump is alleged to have had with a former model who'd already been paid off by the National Enquirer. It's believed Trump's money was aimed at, in turn, buying the story from the paper to guarantee it stayed unpublished. Trump never did pay. The audio tape runs just under 3 minutes, then cuts out.
Hey, no, how are you?
Setting aside the salacious aspects, the key question for Trump, does any of it signal actual legal trouble? If the Enquirer's owners convinced Trump they'd keep quiet on their own no matter what, and if that was aimed at protecting Trump from scandal in the campaign, with Trump's knowledge, say legal experts it could skirt campaign finance laws as an unreported donation in kind.
I don't care about the president's personal life, but I think the issue that matters is his truthfulness.
I think it raises real concerns, and I would expect and anticipate that federal investigators are looking into it to figure out what exactly happened.
As for Trump, he tweeted today what kind of lawyer would tape a client, adding that the tape cuts out while Trump was, as he put it, presumably saying positive things. Says Cohen's lawyer, there's more to come. Andrew.
And Paul, there is some breaking news coming out of Washington tonight. Some Republicans making moves to impeach Rod Rosenstein. What's going on there?
Yeah, Rod Rosenstein is the Deputy Attorney General and effectively the boss of Bob Mueller, head of the Russia investigation. Tonight, a group of Republican lawmakers, all of them hardcore Trump backers indeed, filed articles of impeachment against Rosenstein for high crimes and misdemeanors, accusing him of hiding information from Congress, even though his department has already given lawmakers some 880,000 pages of documents as requested. Nonetheless, this step tonight and the implications are potentially serious. If Rosenstein goes, Trump would no doubt replace him, likely with someone less supportive of Mueller in his investigation, aka, as Trump would have it, the witch hunt. Will it happen? Unlikely. Not only would tonight's move have to pass in the House, and by no means do all Republicans support this, but then it would need a 2/3 majority in the Senate, effectively impossible and likely months away regardless. Still, it's a dramatic move, stirring the pot and ratcheting tensions on this ever more.
Never a dull day. Paul Hunter in Washington. Thanks, Paul. And lots more we're tracking tonight, including an explanation for what caused the deaths of 3 workers last year at a BC arena. According to a new report, it was old equipment that caused an ammonia leak last year at an ice rink in Fernie, BC. And what's more, city officials had been warned years before that the piece of equipment known as a chiller should be replaced. There are 18 recommendations to help prevent other deaths, including removing chillers as soon as leaks are discovered.
This gap will be closed. Better housing, better education, better health care, and yes, lands and resources coming back to First Nations people because we know it's assumed Crown sovereignty.
Perry Bellegarde tonight after being re-elected as the National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. That's one of the biggest players in relations between First Nations and the federal government. He won on the second ballot, picking up just over the required 60% of the vote. Now, Renee Filipponi is at the annual General Assembly in Vancouver. She joins us now. So, Renee, let's start with the significance of this. What does Bellegarde's win mean for the AFN moving forward?
Well, Andrew, it means the status quo will continue, that the Chiefs here supported the relationship that Bellegarde and the AFN under him had been building with the federal government, something his critics say was much too close. They say that Bellegarde was treating the AFN like it was its own arm of government and negotiating on behalf of all First Nations with the feds when they really should be acting like a lobby group. Now, it's up to Chiefs to elect the leader of the AFN, and 500 of them did. And some of the folks running against Bellegarde took issue with that that and how the AFN is run, saying it doesn't really represent First Nations people right across the country. Clearly, when it came down to the election today, that didn't matter. But what we do know going forward is that that relationship that the federal government is trying to build, and their new relationship when it comes to Indigenous rights that they're hoping to put to the House of Commons in the fall, well, with Bellegarde at the helm of the AFN, it looks like that will likely be something to move ahead.
And Renee, I've been following along all day. I know not everyone is happy with how today's vote unfolded. Can you take us back and explain what happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. The Minister for Crown and Indigenous Relations was here at the AFN speaking with a group of Alberta chiefs. The opposition to Bellegarde says this is essentially election interference, saying that it's in the federal government's best interest to keep that status quo when she shouldn't have been here at all. Now, she says that she did not speak to anyone about how to vote or who to vote for, and Bellegarde's people say they had nothing to do with her being here today.
Okay, Renee Filipponi in Vancouver.
Today's general election in Pakistan was rocked by deadly violence. At least 31 people were killed in a bombing near a polling station in the northwestern city of Quetta. Today's attacks were the latest in what has been an election plagued by violence and allegations of corruption. Unofficial preliminary results are in. Thomas Dagla has more on the man poised to lead the country.
The results may be disputed, but to these Pakistani voters, no matter. Imran Khan and his PTI party seem headed for government.
The people of not only who support PTI, but also the people of Pakistan can look forward to a golden era.
Khan took a long road to get here. First, coming home as cricket world champions in 1992. No one got more love than team captain Khan. Then came his jump into politics, his promise to eliminate corruption. Years later, voters could cast their ballots for him this time around.
Just hope that it brings something good in the future.
Rooting out government rot as promised would shake Pakistan to its core and could lessen the military's domestic power, says this observer.
Then Pakistan will be in a much, much better place. And if Pakistan's in a better place, the region's in a better place. And internationally, we're all a lot better off.
Notably missing from the ballot, three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, recently arrested and sent to prison.
This is the source of Nawaz Sharif's troubles, thousands of kilometers from Pakistan, here in London. His family bought 4 luxury apartments in that building, apparently using offshore accounts, and that got him arrested on corruption charges back home.
His brother, Shahbaz Sharif, ran in his place. He claimed the election had been rigged and that Pakistan's powerful security establishment was tilting the vote for Khan. Ballots were being counted well into the night, but for Khan supporters, celebrations were already underway. Thomas Dagla, CBC News, London.
And still ahead here on The National. Think of it like Netflix for cars. Aaron Saltzman explores how subscriptions are changing the way people see their commutes.
Plus, water on Mars. Could it mean life, too?
And Regina police might become the next force to adopt a controversial policy choosing not to name murder victims. Next, why some families of victims say they want their stories told.
She was human. She was important. She was loved. She was valued. And I would want the public to know that.
It's the first Indigenous Fashion Week Toronto of this scope. It's bringing together a number of Indigenous designers and makers and craft artists from across the country, from Greenland also, and from America. It's pretty monumental in having all of these people in one place together. The goal of this Fashion Week is to redefine fashion where Indigenous voices and Indigenous representation is led by us.
There's a reason why so many Indigenous people are artists and
in the fashion industry is because it means so much to us. Like, I'm getting choked up.
The only thing that our work has in common is our connection to our indigeneity, which is so amazing. Everyone has such a unique point of view in the way that they express their indigeneity, and I just can't wait to see the result.
A lot of the time, big box stores appropriate Indigenous fashion designs, beading. So this is kind of our rebellion to that and showing the authentic way to do these designs.
Everyone always feels like there's the rat race in the mainstream fashion industry, and it's extremely competitive. And it's very secretive, and it isn't a good environment to foster community, which is the exact opposite here.
It's more about the art, it's more about the concept, it's more about the fashion, and less about the commodity, less about buying and selling and trying to do kind of like skimming the surface of fashion. This Fashion Week really kind of gets down to the roots and kind of lets us show what we're all about.
Regina police are considering a controversial new policy, keeping the names of murder victims secret. The department says most of the time they have nothing to gain by releasing those names, but some family members say police are missing the point. Olivia Stefanovich has our story.
She was human. She was important. She was loved. She was valued. And I would want the public to know that.
Maxine Goforth says releasing her daughter's name prevented Kelly Goforth from becoming a statistic.
Withholding her name wouldn't have given me that opportunity, to share what she was as a person, not just some young Indigenous girl that was scooped off the street and killed. And
Kelly Goforth was 21 years old when she was murdered. Her mother has become an advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. She's concerned her cause may fall off the public's radar if Regina police move forward with a plan to withhold the identities of most homicide victims. Names would only be released if public safety is at risk or if it's necessary for the investigation.
We can't just say carte blanche every time there's a homicide, we're going to name the victim.
Regina police say they're just responding to Saskatchewan's new Freedom of Information and Privacy legislation. But that interpretation appears to be at odds with the province's justice minister. In a statement emailed, he says he anticipates names will be released as they have in the past. The idea of withholding names worries those who work with intimate partner violence.
If cases can happen where people are losing their lives and the general public never becomes aware of it, there's a lot less of a drive to end this type of violence.
This legal expert is raising a red flag.
And that really goes against a central tenet of our liberal democratic system.
Edmonton police have a similar policy in place. Last year, they withheld the names of 40% of homicide victims, citing privacy rights of the deceased.
Regina's police board met in private today to discuss the homicide naming policy. Police are expected to make a final decision next month. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Regina.
Let's pick up on a point Olivia just made about domestic violence cases and the concerns among people who work with victims. And to talk more about this, Crystal Giesbrecht joins us from Regina. She's with an association that works with shelters across Saskatchewan. And why is it that you want the names of domestic homicide victims released?
I think it's important for a number of reasons. First and foremost, we want to remember those victims and we don't want their death to just go away quietly. But also, having the names and knowing information about these cases helps to make the public aware of the scope of the problem. The more we know about domestic homicide cases, the more we can learn from them and the more we can put that toward action to prevent future homicides.
So you've heard from some police departments, particularly in Saskatchewan, but I've heard this in other places in the country as well. They talk about concerns about privacy and also that they don't need to release these names for investigative purposes. What do you say to the police?
My concern about not releasing names is that in cases of domestic homicide particularly, it often is a homicide-suicide. So there will be no accused who's charged, and the information will never be released through court records. that means it just goes away and the public doesn't know about the story, the names are never released. And I think that's a missed opportunity, again, to make people aware of the scope of this problem in our country, but also to learn something about the red flags and the warning signs that were present in that situation, and to do what we can to prevent future domestic homicides.
All right, Crystal Giesbrecht, thank you very much for speaking with us this evening.
Thank you.
Police forces across Canada treat the issue of naming homicide victims differently. In Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto, the forces generally identify all homicide victims. In Quebec, most local police and the provincial force don't release names without a family's consent.
And still ahead here on the program, scientists announced they've discovered a lake of sorts on Mars. We'll talk about what it means for the search for life there.
And record heat waves around the world. We take you to the UK, where they're on target to break a record as old as the records themselves.
Given another 4 or 5 weeks of this weather, we could just top that one, and it could become the warmest in the instrumental record of 350 years for sure.
Thousands of people from all over Saskatchewan and the world flocked to this little beach in the middle of the prairies. Hotels, rooming houses, cafes, and restaurants buzzed with tourists. They came to bathe in the salty water of Little Manitou Lake, known for its healing powers. At one time, Manitou Beach offered visitors 2 large saltwater pools to dip in. And, of course, they came to dance. Back in the day, the community had several dance halls to let loose in. Today, one remains. Current owner Millie Struby fondly remembers Danceland packed with people.
I think the times that this place was full was exciting. We had polka fests where we were putting people back of the stage sitting on carpets because we didn't have any more chairs.
Millie and her husband, Arnie, bought Danceland in 2001. They knew it well, playing in the house band, but the idea came unexpectedly.
My husband had this dream, and he woke up one morning and he said, "We're buying Danceland." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, we're going to buy Danceland and operate it."
The Strubys are Danceland's 7th owners. It was built in 1930 by Wellington White. Historians say 84,000 feet of lumber and train cars brimming with horsetail and mane hair were shipped in to build it. These layers of hair still sit under the dance hall's original oak floor, which isn't nailed down, but floats. The hair cushions the floor, sinking and springing back with each step, ideal for dancing. Dancing brought the Armstrongs together. Their flirty encounters at weddings led them to waltzing through 34 years of marriage. After celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary here, they decided to move to Manitou Beach, and Danceland was a big part of that decision.
We met so many wonderful people here from the beach and from all over the world, basically.
Over the years, the couple have been involved with fundraising through Friends of Danceland. The group hopes to save the historic building from Manitou Lake's rising waters. They say at least $175,000 is needed to replace the pilings under the building, and it needs to be done soon.
We're looking at a big sum of money to make sure that Danceland is here for the next 90 years, for the next generation.
The constant struggle against flooding and need for repairs is something Millie and Arnie Struby have dealt with often over the past 18 years.
Dancing has never died. It might change. They might have a different style of dance, a different style of music, but I foresee dancing going on forever. And the next generation will just utilize the building. This is just a building for their purposes.
Recently, Saskatoon band The Garys rented the space for a benefit concert. The trio of sisters invited the Karpinka brothers, Wolf Willow, and Ellen Fraze and the Hot Toddies to play Manitou Boogaloo.
I heard a rumor last time I was there that people have seen Elvis Presley's ghost in Danceland before.
And while the king may not have been here, Young bands are eager to play the spot. And, of course, it will always be a great place to polka. Madeline Kotzer, CBC News, Manitou Beach, Saskatchewan.
So Britain's new motto could be keep cool and carry on. And as Katie Simpson explains, if conditions don't change, this could be the hottest summer on record there.
When it's this hot, sometimes you just have to break the rules. Londoners are looking for relief from the stifling conditions making life slow and sweaty in the city. It's an official heat wave that some are trying to embrace.
I think everyone's enjoying the sunshine here and soaking up some rays and getting their tan tops up.
All this week, temperatures are expected to hit the mid to low 30s, nearly 10 degrees warmer than average for this time of year. It comes after an unusually hot June and the hottest May on record in the UK.
This summer will shape up to be undoubtedly one of the top 10 warmest.
England has been keeping temperature records in one form or another since the time of Thomas Cromwell in the mid-1600s. This professor says if these conditions continue, this summer could smash records.
Currently, that record shows that the warmest summer was 1976, so that was about 40 years ago. And at the moment, our temperatures are tracking 1976. So given another 4 or 5 weeks of this weather, we could just top that one, and it could become the warmest in the instrumental record of 350 years, for sure.
The heat has been amplified by a lack of moisture. It's been 7 weeks or so since the last significant rainfall. The hot conditions are hitting farmers the hardest. Not only are they starting to run out of feed for their livestock, but the fields that they're harvesting are so dry, they're starting to crack in desperate need of rain. The city's parks are also scorched to the point that sun seekers are starting to blend in with the bleached grass. And while public health officials are asking people to stay inside during peak sun hours, not many are listening.
I'd rather it be this than freezing cold.
Wind and rain, yeah.
There is some rain in the forecast on Friday. Until then, Londoners will be doing what they can to keep cool. Katie Simpson, CBC News, London.
Sizzling heat and in some places drenching rains. That seems to be the story across the northern hemisphere this summer. Officials in Japan are warning a scorching heat wave will persist into next week. At least 80 deaths have been blamed on the extreme temperatures. And earlier this month, more than 1 million people fled their homes in central Japan when the region was hit with torrential rain. In Europe, the record dry heat has brought wildfires. An entire village in Greece wiped out when flames ripped through the town earlier this week. Wildfires are even burning above the Arctic Circle as Sweden struggles with some of its worst heat in years. In the United States, thousands are seeing their vacation plans go up in smoke. A section of Yosemite National Park has been closed, and tourists have been ordered to leave as a wildfire in Northern California creeps ever closer. Here at home, a heat wave in Quebec this month left as many as 70 people dead. And in Ottawa today, the wettest July 25th on record. Well, this seems like a good time to check in with our CBC News meteorologist, Johanna Wagstaff, who is in Vancouver. Really a day of extremes around the world, but I guess this is the new normal.
Yeah, you're right, Ian. These kinds of extremes are becoming the new normal. Over the past century, human-made greenhouse gas emissions have meant that heat records are being broken more and more frequently, and we're seeing less of the cold records. Now, that's not to say that any one person will still experience an unusually harsh winter or a cold season, but the signature of climate change is unmistakable. In fact, in the 1990s, for the Earth, an unusually cold or a below seasonal cold year was becoming rare, and it's virtually extinct now, Ian.
I know you're used to in Vancouver giving the forecast for tomorrow or maybe 5 days, but I'd like you to look ahead for a year. What should we be expecting?
I think we can do that with the help of the sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific. That's where scientists are looking now for clues about the year ahead, and it looks like we're in a building El Nino. So this is a large-scale weather phenomenon that changes the weather patterns all around the world. And globally, this is when we get our hottest temperature records around the world. So it does look like we'll see more of these heat records broken over the next 9 to 18 months. And as our baseline shifts up, even naturally occurring phenomenon like El Nino will also just get hotter in the future, Ian.
Thanks, Johanna.
You're welcome.
Researchers want to know what effect climate change has on the migratory patterns of right whales. In the spring, the endangered mammals moved north along the eastern seaboard to feeding grounds off the Bay of Fundy. But last summer, an unprecedented number ended up in the shipping lanes of the Gulf of St. Lawrence with tragic consequences. A team from Halifax is now trying to map exactly where the whales are going and why, with the help of some underwater gliders. Gabrielle Fahmy explains.
After months of planning, this little device is finally ready. Direction, the Atlantic Ocean.
So it both floats and sinks depending on if we want it to go up or if we want it to go down.
It looks like a tiny plane, and it kind of works like one too, using its wings to move up and down the water, scouring the ocean for months at a time.
Basically it picks up the pitch track of different whales, and based on the shape of the track, it can identify what type of whale it is.
This little robot works relentlessly.
So that was what you heard, was just the moan.
So that back at the lab, scientists can tell where these whales are, and for the first time, where their food is too.
The amazing thing about right whales is that they're so large, and yet they feed on some of the smallest organisms in the ocean. And because they rely on such small things, they need to find these plankton in really, really dense patches.
That's how researchers will predict the whale's next move, the key to preventing more deaths, but in a way that won't hurt fishing and shipping industries so important to Atlantic Canada.
Everyone in the community understands the urgency of the situation. I mean, with 18 whales dying last year and no calves, we're in a position where, I'm a PhD student. I may not be able to have a career studying right whales if we don't do something.
A big ocean with lots at stake, and the world is watching.
And we're doing a photo story or photo essay about the right whale. This is a global issue. Entanglements and ship strikes are something that affect all whale populations. It's not just the right whale. So, and the story is bigger than just the whale itself.
Watching Canada's every move, because another fatality blamed on this country's industries could spell troubled waters for international relations.
After the summer, all the little robots come out of the water, and that's when the hard work begins. The key question, why the whale's food is suddenly so abundant in the Gulf, and what role climate change has played in bringing it here. Gabrielle Fahmy, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, Andrew, from underwater to outer space, news of an intriguing discovery today that suggests we may be closer to finding life on another planet.
Yeah, Ian, it's one of those stories that gets some people really excited and then others saying, whoa, 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 let's just realize there's still a long way to go. Because at least here on Earth, we all, tend to know that whether it's in our oceans, our rivers, or lakes, where there's water, there's life. But scientists have long wondered if the same could be true for Mars. And for the first time ever, they have found strong evidence of water there, the actual liquid. The discovery was made deep beneath Mars's south pole. Italian scientists used a radar to penetrate through underground ice. The brightest layer you see there is believed to be a reservoir about 20 kilometers wide. It hasn't frozen over because of how much salt is in there. And researchers say that water could be a possible habitat for microorganisms that do well in extreme conditions.
There are all the ingredients
for thinking that life can be there or can be maintained there.
Still, nobody wants to get too excited. Cautious optimism is the order of the day, particularly when it comes to what this means for humans exploring the planet.
It's at the South Pole, just like here on Earth. It's not very hospitable. So what one of the scientists had spoken to said, well, we have people living in McMurdo, so sure, we could have people living down there, but it wouldn't really be like, for example, a colony location. We want to stay at the mid-latitudes, but we already know that water lies just below the surface of that dirt that we see. And we also know that it's in the dirt. Water is in the dirt. So we have ways of getting the water. We have a resource, and getting it would just be a process of technology.
There are no plans yet to find a way to actually test the lake for signs of life, but scientists are hopeful this isn't the only underground water source on Mars.
The beautiful game's beautiful Beckham just made a beautiful move. A decision to head way west, to leave behind his beloved English home and Spanish soccer team and play for Los Angeles. Expecting shock and horror? Not a chance.
That's probably very good for Spain. I think the national IQ average will go up.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Posh wants to go, so he's going.
Beckham decides that he will.
People can be cruel and forgetful. David Beckham has been a much revered soccer star and an adored marketing darling. That face and his glam wife Victoria, once the Spice Girl Posh, make the Beckham package irresistible. And yes, those are the wax images of the Beckhams as Mary and Joseph in a nativity scene. But soccer life hasn't been quite as smooth recently. The experts here, and quite frankly, there are a lot of people in this country who claim to be experts, say that Beckham, the player, was slipping in his skills on the pitch and needed to do something. Beckham's leaving, going to LA. What do you think?
Washed up. That's it. It's all over, I think.
Still, to wear the LA Galaxy jersey, he'll reportedly be paid nearly $300 million over 5 years.
David Beckham will probably actually earn in a region of 50 times more than most of his teammates, if not more. So that kind of gives you a sense of the scale of this deal.
That'll make for some happy times in the locker room.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been interesting, probably trying to kick him, I imagine, in training after the first few days.
The money, the man himself says, has nothing to do with it.
I don't want to go out to America at 34 years old and people be turning around saying, well, he's only going there to get the money. You know, it's not what I'm going out there to do. I'm going out there to hopefully build, you know, a club and a team that has got a lot of potential.
He will, soccer fans hope, bring new life to the North American game and to the new soccer league, one a Toronto team is a part of. Just maybe a little bit of the Beckham brilliance will rub off. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, London.
That's one of the best things about being me, really, to have the following of so many kids around the world. You know, when I've seen it in Europe, I've seen it in Asia and different parts of the world, but then to come to the States and to see the reaction that I've had so far from not just obviously the older people and, you know, the press that I've had, but from the younger people as well, and especially, you know, the girls and the boys that are playing soccer at such a young age. So it's an honour for me. I feel honoured. It's definitely about the sport. It's definitely about the soccer. Obviously, it's also about me being an ambassador. It's definitely not about going into semi-retirement. There's only people that have been out there that have criticised me, mostly in Europe, for coming to a league that is not as high profile and also is not at a level that, you know, La Liga is or the Premiership is. So no, it's definitely not about semi-retirement. It's about growing a league and being part of something which potentially could be huge, and I want to be part of that.
Welcome back. Tonight on the national news of a major shakeup in the hockey world. The Vancouver Canucks say they've parted ways with team president Trevor Linden. He was easily one of the most popular players in franchise history, but for most of his 4 years as team president, the Canucks haven't done so well. They've consistently been one of the worst teams in the NHL. The current GM, Jim Benning, is taking over Linden's job.
It was great. It was pretty anxious in the crowd there. That you could feel the tension around. I didn't expect to be picked here. It was just an unbelievable feeling.
You recognize him, right? That was a young Jarome Iginla in 1995 on the day he was drafted to the NHL. Now, more than 23 years later, we're hearing the Alberta-born forward is ready to hang up his skates. He's set to announce on Monday that he is retiring. It's expected to happen in Calgary, where he played nearly 16 seasons.
It was an amazing feeling. It's a great opportunity for me. Ever since I was a kid, I always dreamed about playing in Europe, and now the opportunity presents itself. Just gotta take it.
Also, it's a done deal. The young Canadian soccer star we've been telling you so much about, Alphonso Davies, he's confirmed today he will play for a major European club. He's being transferred from the Vancouver Whitecaps to Bayern Munich. And the deal is record-setting. The Whitecaps say it could amount to more than $22 million US. That's more than any MLS club has ever received in the league's 23-year history. And the global auto industry is mourning the loss of one of its most respected CEOs tonight. Italian-Canadian Sergio Marchionne is perhaps best known as the leader who saved Fiat and Chrysler from near collapse. He stepped down as CEO last week after falling ill, and he died today in Switzerland, reportedly from complications after shoulder surgery. He was 66. Well, think of all the things you've got subscriptions for. You've probably got a ton of them. Netflix, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Prime, the list goes on and on and on. But what about a subscription for your car? It's something a number of automakers are starting to offer. The car of your choice for a monthly fee. Aaron Saltzman shows us how it works.
Fred Mitchell loves his ride.
The suspension on this car, you just hug to the road and it just feels really great. Handles very well. You don't even feel the speed bumps or the potholes.
And he would know what a good ride feels like. In the last 4 years, Mitchell has had 18 cars.
I've had Infiniti, I've had a Lexus, I've had a Mercedes-Benz C-Class, I've had the E-Class, I've had every class of Mercedes-Benz. I had a black Cadillac, now I've got a cherry red Cadillac.
And not a single one of those was actually his.
People think I own these cars. I don't own any of these cars, I'm just doing a subscription.
A subscription to a car.
It's time to reimagine what car ownership can be.
Subscriptions are not a car share. The vehicle is yours alone to keep as long as you want. They're more like a lease, but the monthly payment covers more than just the cost of the vehicle. It also covers maintenance and insurance and repairs. Unlike a lease, you can swap cars, even pick a different type of vehicle. And you can pause or cancel a subscription at any time.
Like Netflix, you're paying this monthly subscription and you can just end it whenever you want. It's the same thing. So convenient.
Mitchell's Caddy costs him about $1,300 a month, but that's a luxury vehicle. Some car subscriptions start as low as $400 per month. And unlike a lease or financing, there's no down payment. Often, there's not even a credit check.
What are the areas in the code that we might need to change?
Some say this is the car company of the future. No workers on an assembly line, it's programmers coding an app. FlexDrive is essentially a software and service company that works as a middleman between car dealers and consumers. All subscription transactions go through the FlexDrive app, where you can pick a car as easily as you would a movie or a song.
The world of car ownership as we know it today, I believe, has peaked.
Jose Puente started FlexDrive in 2013, making him a pioneer of the subscription model. The Atlanta-based company now has 10,000 subscribers and a concept that could make car ownership a thing of the past.
Most consumers today don't really own a car, they own a car loan. The majority of consumers trade in their car well before it's actually paid off. When you subscribe, you're basically paying for the use of the car. So it's like no hassle access to a vehicle that otherwise you would have to, put on your credit and have to deal with when you want to sell it and when it breaks down. That eliminates all those problems.
FlexDrive says it will expand to Canada by the end of the year and should be in 15 cities in Europe within 2 years. Other U.S. companies have been quick to get in on the market too, with names like Karmacar, Clutch, and Mobility. A Canadian company, Auto One, has just launched as well.
We are at the cusp of some very, very big changes in the auto industry.
Business professor Neeraj Dawar says car makers have to respond to a younger generation, many of whom are less interested in buying a car.
It makes sense for car manufacturers to start to think in terms of selling subscriptions. You don't buy your CDs for music anymore. You subscribe to Spotify. You don't buy the videotapes. You subscribe to Netflix. And a similar model is applicable to the auto industry. It's just that the auto industry has been a little slow to pick up on this.
That slow start has become a race into subscriptions, with Volvo, Porsche, Hyundai, Ford, and Cadillac all offering them on cars in the U.S. Cadillac plans to offer subscriptions in Canada next year.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, we're transitioning to a world of impermanence.
Haas Hassani says Cadillac is looking for new customers through subscriptions.
If we're just converting a customer out of a traditional lease or finance or cash deal in the existing customer, then we're not really growing and expanding our reach. So this program is very much designed to reach a new customer with a new service.
This new service has its skeptics. While the upfront costs are lower, the monthly payments for subscriptions are often higher. It's probably cheaper to pay off your own vehicle and drive it into the ground. And there will also be those who simply don't like the concept.
I think there's a lot of people in the world that, particularly in the U.S., that are very attached to having a car, and it's going to be hard to rip them away from it.
But that's not Fred Mitchell. He's happy driving a car he doesn't actually own.
I would never, ever get a loan or finance any car ever again.
And he may never have to. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Marietta, Georgia.
So, what do you think? Is car ownership really on its way out? Well, it may be if ride-hailing companies have anything to say about it, and self-driving cars may also have something to do with it. Take Lyft, for example, a big investor in that technology. One of its founders predicts that by 2025, people won't really own cars at all in major U.S. cities. They're testing out a subscription-based service, and they're developing their own fleet of autonomous vehicles, too.
Next on The National, sadness and anger on the Danforth. The moment Toronto's mayor was confronted by an angry community member is our moment of the day.
Mr. Mayor, please, I'm begging you. If you have kids, and that happened to your child, you would understand, sir. You would understand.
So that's coming up in a moment. But first, we want to show you a preview of a special CBC short doc that will bring you Friday night on The National. In Calgary, a mobile park has been home to dozens of people for decades, but then the city decided to close it, and that didn't sit well with one resident, 83-year-old Rudy Prediger. Here's a preview of eviction notice.
This tree here, I planted that when it was about 1.5 feet high. And the city one day is going to come in here and hit my tree with a bulldozer. Well, and I look at the golf course, I say you got 300-400 people living in this park, and you got 6 people on the golf course, covering about 5,000 acres. And they have no place for us. Ridiculous. I'm not telling them to remove the golf course. I'm telling them to remove themselves from our way of life. If they don't like it, don't treat us like trailer trash. If you play nice, they'll walk all over you, you know.
And a reminder that The National today takes you inside our journalism every afternoon. That's our newsletter, taking you deeper on the top stories and highlighting the stories that you may have missed. Today, Chinese lawmakers are vowing to crack down on the country's pharmaceutical industry after news broke that hundreds of thousands to millions of children received substandard vaccines. Subscribe to our newsletter at cbcnews.ca/thenational.
lot of Canadians consider themselves lucky because they don't have to pay every time they see a doctor or buy expensive insurance just so they can. But going to the pharmacy, that's another story. So why doesn't universal health care include prescription drugs in Canada? On a per-person basis, Canadians spend the second most on prescriptions in the world. A survey found that about a quarter of households had a hard time paying for their medications. The government helps some groups pay for their drugs: Indigenous people, seniors, residents of Quebec, those on welfare, and as of 2018, people under 25 in Ontario. Some people have a drug plan through work, but others pay out of pocket, and that can be expensive. This all makes Canada a bit of an outlier. Every developed country in the world that has a universal healthcare system also has universal drug coverage, except for Canada. Whether it's birth control pills and inhalers, antibiotics, or heart medication, countries like Australia, France, Britain, New Zealand all pay for their citizens' meds through a state drug plan. That was supposed to be the case for Canada too. Pharmacare, or universal drug coverage, was part of the original blueprint for universal health care more than 50 years ago. The idea was that every single prescription drug was supposed to cost Canadians just $1. That never happened. Today, Canadians pay among the highest prices in the world for medication. So it's no surprise that the provinces and the feds aren't exactly rushing to pay for everyone's medicine. It would cost billions. But experts say if governments had the monopoly on drug plans, they could also cut the cost of drugs by billions. How? By negotiating lower drug prices with companies. That's exactly what New Zealand did in 1993. Today, New Zealand, some drugs are as much as 90% cheaper than they are in Canada, even Canadian-made drugs. For example, this drug used to treat high blood pressure and angina costs just $11 a year. In Canada, it's 12 times that. Today, for every dollar that Canada pays for commonly prescribed drugs, New Zealand pays just 11 cents. As you might guess, the pharmaceutical industry doesn't like this idea. In fact, Pfizer, the world's largest drug company, accused government drug plans of freeloading off countries like the US that pay the true cost of developing life-saving medication. The pharmaceutical industry also points out that government drug plans don't pay for a lot of prescriptions that private plans do. As for universal drug coverage coming to Canada, it's kind of stuck in a chicken and egg scenario. Governments aren't keen to pay for everyone's drugs as long as prices are so high, but prices aren't likely to come down unless governments use their clout to get a better deal.
We want to take you back to the scene of that vigil on the Danforth tonight. At the end of the ceremony, two young community members sang John Lennon's Imagine. So as some people mourn and hug, others are also angry. Earlier today, a man interrupted the mayor, John Tory, on his way to a news conference, demanding answers on the recent gun violence. What he had to say is our moment of the day.
Mr. Mayor, please, I'm begging you. My mom just left for Greece, to go to Greece, to have a good time. She calls me to see if I'm okay. And I told her, Mom, there was another shooting about this time in our city on the Danforth, and we don't need guns. Nobody needs guns.
Yeah, I'm with you, sir. We'll try our best. We're going to try and do everything we can, okay? And tell your mom that too.
I know you have a big job to do, and I know you can't do everything. You know, you're not a police officer. You're not God. You're not. I just hope it cuts down.
You know, Andrew, listening to that, it's not so much anger I hear, it's really anguish.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. It breaks your heart to see someone wear their heart on their sleeve like that. So, well, you know this. I mean, Toronto City Council last night, they passed a motion urging the federal government to ban handgun sales there in the city. But even that, I mean, that's just one small piece of the puzzle of what happened there.
And especially when it turns out, our reporting has, citing sources, says that the gun that was used in this mass shooting was actually smuggled in from the United States. So it was an illegal gun anyway. It would have been banned in any event. It just shows you how complex and difficult this problem is. That is the National for Wednesday, July 25th. Good night.
Good night.